Before talking about how the car drives, I actually want to show you its exterior first, because today we found a really beautiful location, right? And when you pair that with this high gloss metallic paint, wow, the car really has a premium feel. My favorite part is the front of the car. Nowadays, a lot of new energy vehicles shorten the front end to maximize cabin space, and the rear as well, right? But that's not the case here. Look at its front end, it's still very long. Those are 21-inch wheels, and up front you have these raised lines on the headlights with air ducts, right? It really gives off a muscular vibe. Moving to the rear of the car, let me show you its double-layer rear wing and these very three-dimensional taillights. Also, notice the small red badge below. This time, the test car we have is the expected max version. Actually, I think the best looking part of the car's rear is when you're sitting inside and looking directly through the rearview mirror. You can see that the rear end naturally has a wide body look. So every time you turn or change lanes, it just puts you in a good mood. Next, let me show you a pretty cool feature. Since it has exterior voice control, I can say, Xiaomi, open the front and rear trunks. Wow, look at this, Strud, it's a one-piece giant hood. After checking out the exterior, let's talk about unlocking the car. This is a 15S Pro, and as everyone knows, it comes with UWB. So what benefits does that bring? For example, right now, if I stand in front of the Xiaomi car for 3 seconds, look, the front trunk opens by itself. Did you know it can also be activated by the Xiaomi voice assistant from outside the car? Also, there's something really great about Xiaomi's electric front trunk. If I reach out and gently push it down, it closes automatically. You actually don't need to press any button. I think that's a really nice touch. The rear trunk also supports UWB, but we won't demonstrate that here. Next, when you open the car door and step inside, you'll notice the interior door handle automatically folds in it's equipped with a soft close feature. Wow, this interior color is called turquoise gray. I know most people haven't seen this interior before, but I personally really like it. First of all, the white areas lean more towards beige, and there's a dark green two-tone accent on top. This two-tone design is used in many places, like the dashboard in front, and as you can see, the steering wheel is also two-tone. There's also a dark green seatbelt here, and it's the same for both the front and rear seats. I'd like to talk a bit more with everyone about this steering wheel. So can you spot what's different about this compared to the Ultra model? First, the centering mark in the middle is silver. Secondly, because it's two-tone, the outer green layer, in my opinion, might be more resistant to dirt with long-term use. Lastly, the assisted driving button and the Bose button down here, so that they match better with the white, they're no longer pure red. Instead, there's now a small red ring around the outside. What do you think of that? How would you rate this steering wheel? As for other features, like the zero-gravity seats for both the driver and front passenger, and the 135-degree adjustable rear seat backs, we've already shown you these features during our static review, so we won't go over them again here. Now we've finally arrived at the smart cockpit, the area where tech bloggers really shine, right? First of all, compared to the YU7, one of the biggest expected changes is that the flip-up instrument panel in the front row has been moved to the windshield, becoming Xiaomi's Hypervision. So it's made up of 3 mini LED panels. As for the clarity that everyone cares about, how does it look when we film it under strong outdoor lighting? What does it feel like you're looking at? It feels like you're looking at an OLED screen, because it's so purely black, which is actually quite normal since it's projected onto the front windshield. In terms of the UI display, it consists of 3 different areas. Xiaomi officially provides 3 default combinations. My personal favorite is having the driving mode on the left, a digital pet in the center, and music playback on the right. Of course, you can customize it in various ways, since their positions can be adjusted relative to each other. One thing to note is that the driving mode can only be placed on the driver's side or in the center. After all, this is for your safety. They've also created various styles for these UI displays. For example, there are 4 types of driving modes. When you adjust the driving mode, it even shows you things like the vehicle's height and horsepower. I think this is great for users, because a lot of people say, hey, when I switch to sport mode, I have no idea what my chassis height is or how much horsepower I have. But now, all of that is displayed right in front of you. Also, take note, when you adjust the driving mode on the central control screen, it actually has a dynamic island. Not only does it have a dynamic island, it also has a dynamic center island, and they've even implemented gesture interactions between the two. What's even crazier, bro, is that during charging, even the person has a dynamic effect. No, this just doesn't make any sense. And what am I personally most interested in? It's the digital pet getting in the car. This is actually the cute pet wallpaper from Xiao Jay's video, featuring a capybara and a little oriole. So, what functions can it currently perform? When you see our vehicle turning, it seems to recognize it too. And there's a certain sense of interaction with you. Look at its little tail wagging go. It's just so cute, right? What else will it be able to do in the future? For example, when you call out to Xiaomi, it seems like it's eavesdropping. I'm just guessing here, but maybe in the future when you're listening to music, it might even put on headphones. Let's see if my guess turns out to be right. As for the UI display for music and navigation, we won't go into detail about that anymore. Here, we also discovered a little Easter egg. Since you can delete these cards if you delete both the driver and passenger cards and only keep the one in the middle, hey guys, doesn't it give you that French car vibe? Because of this, I also noticed a small issue. The UI display in front of the driver only shows driving mode. I wonder if, in the future, they could add something else. For example, I could put a pet in the middle, music on the right, and the driver's side would integrate both driving mode and navigation. We brought this up to our friends at Xiaomi and they said, yeah, we're working on it, just wait. Besides the hypervision up front, there have also been changes to the car's infotainment system. They're using the 3rd generation Snapdragon 8 chip, and don't worry, it's already passed automotive grade testing. When displaying the car interface, pay attention to the background, it still matches the interior design. Entering the main interface of the car system, it's still the familiar dashboard mode. The main difference is in the apps. It now supports a lot more apps, and surprisingly, many of these apps even have dedicated car version. Who would have thought that? At the same time, you can now pin more apps to your main screen. For example, what kinds of apps? Apple Music, Apple CarPlay. What's even more unbelievable is that this CarPlay is still version 26 of iOS. We tried it out and it runs extremely smoothly. At first, I wanted to switch back to Xiaomi's car system, thinking I could use Apple CarPlay for navigation and then use Xiaomi's built-in map for navigation as well, but wouldn't the two conflict with each other? Really? Sai, I didn't expect that after I set up mutually exclusive logic, he thought of what I was thinking, and now I've become the clown. Also, just to mention, you can also use the buttons on the steering wheel to wake up Siri and control Apple CarPlay, fellow drivers. Main driver situation? Alright friends, let me show you Xiaomi's anticipated karaoke without a microphone. Notice that you can see the lyrics on the weather display up front, but right now you can only use it when you're in registered mode. It's very clear even though the sunlight outside is really strong, you can see it well. Let me switch to ultra wide angle. I really hope that in the future, this feature can be moved to the passenger side and that the main driver can also use it while driving. The atmosphere it creates is really nice. The biggest change in this car system is Xiaomi. Super tasks are now available in the car. What is this? It's actually similar to the shortcuts feature on the iPhone 5. It's very simple, just one logic. We set a trigger condition, and as long as that condition is met, it will execute the task. What kind of effect does it have? We tried it out on site. When there's someone in the driver's seat and someone in the right rear seat, it automatically switches to boss mode. It's very automated. Of course, Xiaomi has also provided some default options for everyone. So if you feel like you don't have the skills to set it up yourself, just take a look here. They have a sharing feature so you can use profiles that others have shared with you. This is really well done. Actually, I thought of a lot of scenarios. For example, when I'm driving, I switch to sport mode. When my girlfriend is driving, it switches to comfort mode. And when there are elderly people in the back seat, it switches to the motion sickness relief mode. But as you can see right now, although its super task feature supports a lot of functions, it's obvious that it's not fully finished yet. This time they've added 2 new modes. One is pet mode and the other is camping mode. I'll keep you in suspense for now. We'll talk more about them when we discuss the accessories. First, let me show you 2 interesting things. Behind the screen, Xiaomi has basically put a tissue box, right? I believe that's where a lot of people put their tissue boxes. What's wild is that they've made a magnetic accessory, though. Your tissue box is magnetically attached on top. And right below the center console, you can see there's a glasses case here, which is also magnetically attached. Not only can it stick here, but it can also attach to the roof of your car, right next to the left side of the steering wheel. Notice there's an accessory placed here. It's clearly a phone holder, but there's no cable plugged in. So, how is it different from the one on the Zeekr YU7? Well, this one comes with built-in power right here. You don't need to plug in a cable to charge your phone. It works on both the left and right sides. At the same time, right below the rearview mirror, this area is also powered, so Xiaomi has attached a gimbal camera here. What can this camera do? First of all, it can easily capture scenes outside the car, which is pretty standard. You can also rotate it to directly film the interior of the car. For people like us who shoot videos, it's really convenient for filming cars or shooting arrows. Most importantly, do you remember the pet mode we mentioned earlier? When you combine it with this mode, if your pet is in the car, you can use this camera to check on your pet's status. At the same time, as long as you've activated pet mode, all the car speakers and buttons are disabled, so even if your pet presses them, nothing will happen. It also won't want to come to the back row, and there are even more clever features in this car. For example, on the B pillar, there's a small button that you can think of as a customizable button. There are several spots throughout the car where you can attach things magnetically, and they've also designed a UI for this on the car's display screen. It gives you corresponding prompts, so you don't have to worry about not being able to find it or not knowing where to inhale. So what can this button do? Press it once to play music, press it again, and the music pauses. But that's not all. If we look at the central control, you'll find that it has a lot of customizable functions. You can activate them with a short press or a long press. What's pretty wild is that it can also trigger Xiaomi's Super Task. This means that if you put this button on the right side pillar, when someone gets in on the right, that boss key doesn't have to be automatic, it can be triggered manually with the button. Moving to the rear of the car, what else do you notice? There's an extra magnetic track. So, what can you attach to this? A projector, my friend. Remember the camping mode we mentioned earlier? Here comes something fun again. To give us a better experience, Xiaomi set up 4 camping scenarios. I took a quick look, and how should I put it? At this moment, I finally understood the concept of people, car, and home. Look over here, guys. You can see Xiaomi's electric kettle, Xiaomi's power strip, Xiaomi's electric fan, and pay attention over there. Remember the magnetic track we just talked about? Well, you can attach a projector there. And up front, that's the projection screen. Wow! At this very moment, I feel like I'm back at home. Just lying down over there, wow! Good night, Martha. Another pretty cool thing is that on the YUQI, you can also choose that overhead luggage rack. So you can just put your bicycle up there. Yeah, that's an awesome feature. At first, when I just drove the Xiaomi YU7 out of the garage, I felt like the front of the car was really long and wide. It seemed huge. And I wasn't very confident driving it. But after less than 2 kilometers, I got the hang of it right away. You see, there are 2 raised lines on the front hood, which help you judge the width of the car. At the same time, you'll notice it has variable steering, and its turning radius is only 5.7 meters, so it's still very agile when driving in the city. After getting on the highway, we first tried out the comfort mode. It really is comfortable, but I think this comfort doesn't just come from the chassis being much softer though, of course. Compared to the SU7, it is definitely a bit softer. What's the most important thing? The seats. The padding is clearly much more substantial. Although it doesn't have active side bolsters, the side support still wraps around you very comfortably. It also comes with seat massage and seat ventilation. Also, even though we're using 21-inch low rolling resistance tyres, we tested the sound insulation at highway speeds. Take a listen when it comes to NVH. The Yuki really deserves praise. In addition, the panoramic sunroof up top is also a variable sunroof. However, it's not the kind that changes quickly. So, what is it like? It takes about 2 or 3 minutes, around 2 minutes to turn dark. I asked someone from Xiaomi about it, and they said that the ones that change quickly don't insulate heat as well, while the slower ones have better heat insulation. So, it's your choice. In my opinion, choosing this type is totally fine. Another small point. In comfort mode, the steering wheel has noticeably more play than the SU7. This means that when you're driving at high speeds, it's less tiring. Of course, when it comes to power and all that, you really have nothing to worry about. Even when overtaking, you'll still feel very confident. After arriving at Orania, I immediately switched to sport mode to drive. You have to know, this is still a car that does 0 to 100 in about 3 seconds. Although they call it an SUV, right, the seating position is actually very low. It's even lower than some new energy sedans. The steering is precise, the throttle response is very quick, and the chassis has clearly become stiffer. So when I go out driving by myself, I definitely prefer to use this mode. So when you drive in sport mode, the seat still provides a certain level of comfort. As for the Sport Plus mode, the chassis becomes even stiffer. So why do I bring this up? It's simple because the throttle response isn't as jumpy as the SU7 Max was when we first got the car. It's also very linear, which I think deserves praise. By the way, I also tried out those Bose tyres, guys. You can see that on the front Hypervision display, they've also made a corresponding UI for it. Why am I talking about the riding experience? Because I believe that once I buy it, my wife will definitely be fighting with me to drive it every day. So I tried out the passenger seat in advance to get a feel for it on your behalf. Let me talk a bit more about the passenger seat. First, take a look at the air conditioning it's set quite far from your face, and they've used some kind of technology related to fresh air and water purification. So the airflow doesn't blow directly onto your face, you know? That makes you feel a lot more comfortable. Also, when you're in the passenger seat and the driver is driving, you can adjust the leg rest back, turn on the seat massage, and it also has excellent sound insulation. In terms of comfort, this is definitely one of the best features in the entire Xiaomi car lineup. As for the back row, the space has gotten bigger. Just go check out the display car yourselves. I won't go into detail. Oh, and by the way, the headrest has also gotten bigger. I have to talk about the assisted driving Xiaomi uses the SAW chip with 700 TOPS of computing power. We've used it for a while on the highway, and honestly, there's not much to film because it's really stable. My impression is that, relatively speaking, it's still quite conservative. There was a part where, you see, the speed limit was 100, but it kept following a large vehicle at 95 kilometers per h. Honestly, if I were driving myself, I would have changed to the left lane. So, for now, it's still a bit conservative. But in the city, this time it actually surprised me. I took some screenshots of a few scenarios to show everyone. The first one, you see, there's a bus in front of me, blocking my lane, but then it anticipated and steered a bit to the right. As soon as the bus started moving, it went straight past because we needed to turn right. This handling was actually pretty good. Then, during the right turn, we encountered vehicles turning left, and it yielded to them. We encountered a situation where someone suddenly darted out from behind an obstacle, and it recognized it. And this was at night, during Beijing's evening rush hour. Everyone! As we kept driving forward, we needed to turn from the left lane, but there was a slow car in the left lane. I thought it would just turn and follow behind that car, but unexpectedly, it sped up a bit, and while ensuring safety, overtook the car and got in front of it. You know, this city driving assist really surprised me, but I still recommend that when there's heavy traffic, it's better to just drive yourself. This is just my own attitude toward the driving assist, sharing it with you all for reference. Alright, we can't forget the sound system has clearly improved. I recorded a bit in the garage for everyone, you can have a listen. Finally, I know a lot of you are still quite interested in the expected energy consumption. We recorded it on the test drive car Take a Look. The test drive car has 4,000 kilometers on it, with 80% on highways and 20% in the mountains, and the average energy consumption is 19.2. This means that for the top spec version of the YU7, even with 21-inch wheels, you can easily drive over 500 kilometers when you get home. There are also some other configurations. I actually took 2 pages of notes, but then I thought, I won't talk about them now. Let's wait until we get the UQI delivered. See you then. Bye-bye.